Hey y'all, No here. It's been a good while since my last video, but I thought it's about time to take a little short road trip. I'm getting ready and preparing to go to a trip to Alaska later on this summer. But you know, it's always good to kind of take a short trip before you go on a big trip. If something's gonna go wrong or you forgot to pack something, it's better to find out when you're 100 miles from home rather than 500 miles from home. So with that in mind, what I found that helps me whenever I pack up from a time when I've not been traveling is to take pictures of the things that I take out of the van when I get back home from a trip and I'm going to be home for a while. What I do is take a picture of things and I take them out of the van, and then that way I've got an easy record of what I took out of the van. So then whenever I go to load the van back up, all I've got to do is look at my pictures and what came out needs to go back in. So that's what I've done this morning. It always takes longer than you think it's going to take. But I'm about ready to head out on the road. Going to make a stop at Walmart first to get a few supplies. I try to use Walmart for as many of my supplies as I can, especially groceries. I have come up with 7 different recipes that I can use for evening meals, and I try to build these recipes based on what's available at Walmart. And the reason for that is that there's more Walmart stores than probably any other store in the United States. And so not all Walmart stores are identical, but the grocery sections of most of the stores are pretty much the same. So pretty much, a Walmart store here in Tennessee is going to have the same thing as a Walmart store in Colorado or someplace like that. So I build my recipes based on that, knowing that that'll give me the best chance of getting the ingredients that I need for my recipes. So with that said, I'm going to head out on the road now. I'm not going to bore you probably with a lot of pictures of me driving down the interstate. You've seen the interstate before. I'm going to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And I'm going to hike the Trillium Gap trail up Mount LeConte. There are 5 different trails that go to the lodge at the summit of Mount LeConte. I have hiked 4 of those, and some of them more than once. But for whatever reason, the Trillium Gap trail is the one trail that I have never hiked up. And so I'm going to use that for my preparation trip to get ready to go to Alaska. And also so I can, mark that last trail. It's not necessarily on the bucket list, but it's always bugged me that there's one that I hadn't done. So let's head for Walmart. I'll see you when we get there. Okay, so here we are at Walmart. You've probably seen them before. Another reason I'm doing this video is to get some practice at shooting video while moving. So no promises on how good this video is going to be. But here's a good example about what a roadblock looks like. It's like they're wanting to keep me out of Walmart today. Jesus said, don't take the best seat in the house. I had a preacher one time that said, don't take the best parking place in the parking lot. So I'm going to try to save one or two for somebody that might have more arthritis than me. Okay, time for a little lunch. Peanut butter and jelly has always been my go-to. You probably know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but maybe you'll find that I make it a different way than you make it, and you may find that you might just like my way better. All right, I like extra crunchy, Jif, and I am usually pretty generous with peanut butter, because that's the healthiest part of the peanut butter. I also use whole wheat bread. Some folks like white bread, but whole wheat sounds a little healthier. Who knows just how healthy it actually is. Okay, so got a pretty good dollop of peanut butter. And here's the part that most people don't do like I do. I use 3 slices of bread. Kind of make it a little double-decker. I also don't spread my jelly with a knife, but with a spoon. All right, so we're just going to come over and roll that off the spoon and spread it around. Trying not to get too much jelly for 2 reasons. Jelly is the unhealthy part of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's also the part that can make the stickiest, messiest mess too. All right, so that's just enough for flavor. Add the 3rd slice of bread, and there you have it. Okay, time for a little breakfast. I'm going to make myself a breakfast burrito. You've probably made them before and have a way that you like to do them, but I'm going to show you the way that I like to do them for you newbies that may have never made one in a camper van before. So our ingredients are tortilla, shredded cheddar cheese, 2 strips of pre-cooked bacon. I like the pre-cooked kind because you don't have all the oil to deal with. It's a little bit more expensive perhaps, but maybe not, because when you buy uncooked bacon, a lot of that weight that you pay for cooks away in grease. So it may just be a wash. I never really did the calculation on it to see what the difference is. Got 4 of these small potatoes to add just a little bit more starch, and 2 large eggs. All of these ingredients are readily available at Walmart, which is something I try to always do when there's a Walmart around. Okay, so we're going to dice these potatoes up first. Hopefully without cutting myself. Wouldn't that be embarrassing? Probably could use a sharper knife. I have to get one of those someday. So I like to dice them up pretty small because that makes your burrito roll up a little bit easier once you get all the ingredients cooked. And I did live in Mexico for 6 months back years ago, but never really learned the art of rolling a burrito while I was down there. Not absolutely sure I ever had a burrito while I was down there. It's probably more of a Tex-Mex thing than it is an actual Mexican thing. Okay, got all those diced up. And got this copper frying pan They say you can fry things without oil, but I have never been able to. So we're going to put just a little bit of olive oil in there. Gives a good coating on the pan because we're going to fry our potatoes first. And with this stove, you want to put them on very low heat because this stove really puts out the heat. Just going to throw those in. Our parking spot's pretty level, but you can see it's kind of running downhill in that direction, so just make sure that all the potatoes get a good coating of oil on them. And then while those are starting to cook, I'm going to slice up my bacon and oops, missed a potato. Slice up my bacon and my jalapenos. Again, the more finely you can get chopped up, the easier it's going to be to get your burrito to roll up. Okay, and you can see these are starting to sizzle a bit. And honestly, the secret to making hash browns is to just be patient and give them time to brown. But be ready for when they do start to brown, because when they do start to brown, they really start to brown. I think I'll go ahead and add just a little sprinkle of salt. Some people like to put the salt after they're finished. Kind of like to put it while they're actually frying. That way, when I scramble my eggs, that's going to put a little salt in them too. Of course, too much salt is not too healthy for you, but if you're looking at a long hike and you're going to be sweating a lot, well, your body needs some sodium to help you to stay hydrated, keep you from getting dehydrated. All right, you can see these are starting to brown up pretty good. Gonna go just a bit longer. Like for my hash browns to be crunchy, but crunchy because they're golden brown, not crunchy because they're half raw on the inside. Doesn't look like a lot of potatoes, but once you start stuffing a burrito, what I found is that I tend to want to put more into a burrito than it can really hold. The size burrito I'm using is, I think they're saying an extra large tortilla. Doesn't really tell the size of it, but you know, probably about 8 inches or so, maybe more than that, more like 10 probably. Alright, potatoes are looking pretty good. Just going to turn the heat off for just a bit so we don't waste any butane. Let these be cooling down a little bit, because when your eggs hit the skillet, you don't want them to flash fry. You want to have a chance to be able and actually scramble them. Okay, and to make sure that I have a pretty easy cleanup, actually go ahead and put these on the tortilla, and that'll give the potatoes a chance to cool down a little bit. Also give our frying pan a little chance to cool down a little bit. Yeah, this didn't turn out half bad, if I do say so myself. Of course, it's not always what they look like that counts, but what they taste like. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and slice up these jalapenos while I'm waiting for my pan to cool. Being careful not to burn my arm on it there. And of course, if hot and spicy is not your thing, you can leave off the jalapenos. Alright, gonna add these to the pan. Kind of gives you a little idea of how hot your pan is. And then, even though the bacon is pre-cooked, I'm going to add it in there just to crisp it up a little bit more than Oscar Mayer did. That also helps to dissipate a little bit of the heat. Alright, I am not the most skillful egg cracker, so I hope that this turns out alright. Not too bad for me. I don't think I'll ever be able to crack one with one hand, and honestly, I'm not brave enough to even try it. I'm satisfied if I just make it without getting any shells in the pan, to be honest. Alright, we're going to break the yolk. And scramble those up a bit. As you can see, the pan was cooled down just enough so that we didn't start to cook the egg before we got a chance to get it stirred up. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Okay, now we're going to add some cheese. I usually say I'm not really adding cheese to my eggs, but I'm adding eggs to my cheese. to me if you're able to see the eggs before you put the cheese in. That probably wasn't enough cheese. As you can see, again, Walmart cheese. I can't tell that much difference in it once it gets cooked in a burrito. I'm going to stir that cheese in just a bit. I'm going to try to get it to melt and combine with the egg. When I'm at home, I wouldn't ordinarily maybe add just a little bit of milk to my eggs, but when I'm on the road, just a little bit too difficult to keep milk from spoiling, and the cheese does a pretty good job as well. All right, gonna restart our stove. Gonna turn it down really low so our eggs don't stick, because I've found in these non-stick frying pans, they're more stick than the company that sells them claims that they are, especially around the sides. So you want to keep stirring these really good and keep them on low heat so they don't get away from you. But keep a good watch on them, because they will get away from you. You see our cheese is starting to melt pretty good. Where you want to watch is around the edges, because that's where, see how it's starting to want to cook around the edges before it does in the middle. So what you want to do is just keep pulling that to the middle so that it doesn't stick around the edges. And you can see how my van is not quite level. My eggs are wanting to roll away from us. So we're going to concentrate on that side, because that's the side that's going to cook first. All right, now they're starting to cook in the middle some. And just got to keep stirring, stirring, and stirring. And pulling to the middle and pulling to the middle. And not dropping the spoon in your lap. Pan's a good place to drop it if you have to. Bit more oil might not have been a bad thing. Hindsight's usually 20/20, if not better than that. And my heat might have been just a little bit high also, but looking pretty good. It's a lot easier to do when you don't have a camera strapped to your head. It's kind of like I'm watching for two of us. Trying to keep it where you can see it and I can see it both at the same time. can actually add a little bit of water to your eggs before you scramble them. I forgot to do that. That will make them turn out a little bit more fluffy. But I think this is going to do quite well. Alright, so we're off the heat now. And trying to make sure we don't waste any of that egg. And also it's easier to get off the pan when it's warm than after it cools. Okay. Yep, a little bit of water in that, like just a tablespoon or two would have made them turn out a bit fluffier. But still not bad at all. Alright, so now for perhaps the trickiest part of all, and that is the actual folding of the burrito. I like to put my ingredients a little bit off center. And letting your eggs cool just a bit more before you put them on the tortilla. You may be able to see some of that steam coming up off of the egg. And if you can get some of that moisture out of your eggs before you put them on the tortilla, that keeps your tortilla from getting quite as soggy as you eat it. But I think we're pretty close to ready here, so we're just going to turn those out onto the tortilla. And you can really see the steam coming up off of there now. So we're going to spread that out as much as we can. To make sure that we don't waste any of that egg. And also, again, easier to clean up before it gets cold. Whoops. Just a little piece of bacon there and a little bit of egg. The way the price of bacon has gone up, you definitely don't want to waste any of that. Alright, now for the tricky part, the rolling. So we're going to fold this forward first. And we're going to give it just a little fold right there. And then we're going to come over like this as far as we can reach. And then tuck it under and just keep going. And not half bad if I do say so myself. Alright, now for the eating, I'll come back and show you the cleanup when we get finished. Okay, it's time for a little cleanup now. So, going to just use paper towels to wipe off as much as we can without using any water or any detergent. And that's kind of the approach I have taken the last couple of years, is to use very little, if any, water at all to clean up. Okay, so we're going to use some of this Dawn Power Wash, and This has really done a good job for me. What you have to do is just spray a little on, and I'm directing the spray in the direction of the frying pan so that if we get any overspray, then we're going to make it go in the frying pan and not onto the counter, so that we actually get a little bit of use out of it. Oops, only works if you aim it towards the frying pan. And as you can see, it's doing a nice job. If you can find a spoon that's not textured, it works much better. And hopefully you can see that's nice and shiny on both sides. Shinier on the slick side than the textured side. Got a little bit of drip into the plate. And this is really all I've used to clean up after meals in the last 2 years. And I've had no intestinal issues whatsoever. So even though I'm not rinsing with water when I'm finished, it's done a good job for me. I'll make sure we get the cutting board, because that's one place that we want to be disinfected and clean. The cutting board is a place where bacteria likes to hide. All right, now for the hardest part, the frying pan itself. I'm going to put a good bit on there. And the place where I find that I get the most stick is up here around these rivets. They made the pan itself fairly stick proof, but for some reason they didn't put the same coating on the rivets that they put on the rest of the frying pan, so tend to get a lot of sticking around these rivets up here. So I'm just going to rub that in real good. The thing I've found about these non-stick frying pans anyway is their claims on TV seem to be a lot better than it works in real life. A lot of these frying pans claim that you could even fry in them without using any oil. I think I tried that one time and decided I wasn't going to try it again, because I never have gotten any of these non-stick frying pans to not stick at least a little bit. But when you're not using any oil, they stick quite a bit in my experience. Okay, and Not quite as clean as a dishwasher at home would get them, but I think that'll work quite nicely. Okay, finally made it to the trailhead. It's the next day now. I mooch docked in a friend's driveway last night. The new thing about the Smoky Mountains National Park is this, which is the fact that you have to pay for parking now. And you've probably heard all about that. One thing you may want to know about it is the parking permit expires at midnight each night. So if you happen to get here at 2 in the afternoon and go by the visitor center and get your parking permit, you're not going to be able to come back the next morning on the same parking permit because they expire at midnight. They're not for a 24-hour period of time. The other thing is, if you're getting here early in the morning, don't do like I almost did this morning and go straight to the trailhead. Remember, you've got to go to the visitor center and get that parking permit first before you go to the trailhead. Otherwise, you're going to get a fine or even possibly towed. Now, something else to know about the Trillium Gap trailhead and also the Rainbow Falls trailhead, which are on the same road. That road is a one-way road. So if you miss the turnoff for the trailhead and pass by it, you're going to have to go all the way around and cut back in the loop again if you miss that trailhead. So when you know you're getting close to the trailhead exit, be watching for it. Go slow. Don't pass by it because you're looking at a long and winding road that's going to take you all the way back to the beginning of the one-way road to start over. Now, something else is that, the trailhead parking lots get very crowded, especially in the summertime. And I have heard of people that are wanting to hike the Rainbow Falls Trail, which is the first trailhead before the Trillium Gap trailhead. And they'll say, well, I just go down to Trillium Gap, park in that parking lot and walk back. Well, you can do that, but it's quite a walk. It's a couple of miles at least on a very narrow one-way road. And it's not a walk that I would want to make, especially when I know there's a lot of traffic. I don't think that would be very safe. So it's 7:40, which seems like a pretty late start, and maybe it is, but the park is on the western end of the Eastern time zone. So the sun comes up later at this location than it would if you were in North Carolina or someplace like that. Okay, so let's take a look at what's... They do have a long drop here. Trash receptacles. I did find the long drop to be very clean and didn't smell really at all. And you can also see that there are no parking places left that I can see, and not very many of them to start with. So obviously the later in summer it gets, the earlier you're going to want to get here. Okay, so this is Grotto Falls. Hope you can hear me above the sound of the water. Be advised, the trail does go underneath the waterfall, so make sure your camera's in a dry place before you walk under there. Catch you at the top. Simon and Garfunkel recorded a song called The Sound of Silence. I thought I'd give you an opportunity to see what the sound of silence really sounds like. Okay, so that's 30 seconds worth of silence, depending on how good my microphone is. Hopefully that recorded well enough for you to be able to tell it was the sound of silence.
I do. I just have the AI read it for me.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of crazy now. Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Be careful. Writing essays is so dumbing down, AI.
Okay, so 8 hours later, I'm back at the trailhead again. I will say it's a very good trail, though. If you're planning on hiking to the top of LeConte and you want to hike from the bottom all the way to the top, I would say Trillium Gap is the best of the 3 trails that go from the bottom to the top. I would probably rate them Trillium Gap the best, Bullhead second, and Rainbow Falls. I would avoid Rainbow Falls any way I could possibly. In my opinion, it's the hardest trail. The most rocks, it's uphill just as much as any of the rest of them. And actually, even at the top, it goes up and then it comes down and then you have to go back up again. So it can be very frustrating. But anyway, all in all, pretty satisfying. It's good to say I've done all 5 trails now. So it wasn't really on the bucket list, but it was just something that I wanted to do. And so with God's blessing, I was able to do it. So it was a nice thing to be able to do. So anyway, hopefully that helps you out some as far as, knowing how to get to trailheads and the condition of the trails and stuff like that. So I will see you next time, hopefully from Alaska next time. Okay, we're back from the road trip. Rig held up pretty well, just a couple of minor problems that I'd like to tell you about. First one was this plastic barrier that I put up for installation. I had been having some problem with it catching whenever I would close these drawers down here. On the road trip, I found that I should have put this all the way up to the top up here. So I'm going to add some more of this vinyl siding, actually, to protect this so that I don't get any more of these little tears like this. The other thing, I've actually made an addition since we last spoke. This is actually a vibrator massage seat cover, and it has like these vibrator motors up here and then down here in your low back, and get a little bit more light on it there. But the problem I had was it also has motors here and here, and that is actually making my sciatica a little worse from having, it's pretty thick. It's about that thick, and when you're sitting on it and it's not vibrating, it kind of makes your sciatica worse instead of better. So I'm thinking I may actually take this and fold it up under here so that I'm going to be sitting on the regular seat instead of on these vibrator motors. Don't know if you can see the controls there, but it actually has like a heat mode and several. You can set it to vibrate at one or more of these 4 massage areas. It is 12 volt, and so just plugs into your cigarette lighter here. Other than this one spot here, it's actually very relaxing, feels good. I think I'm going to keep it. I'm just going to make a little bit of modifications to it. But we're seeing more and more of these 12 volt gadgets for RVs and vans. So that is about everything that went wrong with the rig. Not very much at all. Nothing that I can't fix. I was very pleased with how the rig held up. So hopefully next time we hear from each other, I'll be on the way to Alaska. So as always, God bless you for listening, and vaya con Dios.